Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Brainwash the Broke series. Again, with another amazing guest, and I'm super pumped to have him here. He is in mindset coaching. He is a really smart guy. Most people think they need to fix themselves to be happy, but that's not what this person has seen to be working and so on. He's someone who has spent years listening to real people, real stories, and helping them change the story they live by. So I'm super pumped to have him here. This is Chad Peterson, and I'm really grateful for him being here. So welcome him to the show. What's up, brother?
Hey, how you doing? Good to be here. Thanks for reaching out.
Awesome. So before we jump into another, like any different type of topics and dive into more meaningful conversation, let's start with, um, how did you get into entrepreneurship? How did you get in what you do right now, and what did actually inspire you to do that?
Yeah, so I spent a large majority of my career in marketing, mostly focused on storytelling and working with people who were just telling surface stories. I helped them become more vulnerable, authentic, and find the emotion in the story. But then some time back, I went through a heartbreaking divorce,
Mhm.
crushed me, destroyed me. And I realized it was because almost all of my identity, who I was in that. It was trying to be what that person wanted, uh, trying to be what my clients wanted, trying to be, all these things for everyone else. And I realized I didn't know who I was. And so I went on this journey of self-discovery for myself. And as I shared my story online, people started reaching out and telling me, thank you for helping me not feel alone. I feel seen. If you have time, can I talk? And I realized that there were a lot of other people out there going through the same things I was, feeling the same feelings, struggling with the same struggles. And so I began to study and get trained and teach. And a friend of mine at some point asked me if I would come and teach what I call story catching in Ecuador. And I'd never left the United States before. My entire life, I was freaking out. I'm like, well, yeah, that sounds like a cool opportunity, but I've got to get a passport. And then I had a layover in Colombia, and I'd seen this show called Narcos on Netflix, so I thought the drug lords were going to kidnap me. Like I had no idea how to travel internationally, but obviously I made it. We got to the capital. We spent a week there, and then we came to this little town called Baños de Agua Santa in the Andes Mountains. And on the 10th day of my first time ever traveling internationally, we loaded up the van to go back to the airport, and I took my suitcase off the van and I said, you know what? Just leave me here.
Mhm.
And I stayed, and that's where I am now. I've been here for about a year and a half. And while I was here, I started taking the things I had learned and started studying some of the spirituality and some of the things that are revered here in the Andes mountain. And that led to this thing that I do now, which is helping people realize that you don't need to be fixed. You just need to remember who you were before you allowed everyone else to edit your story.
Okay, that's powerful. Yeah, that's really powerful. I love it because yeah, you're 100% right. You know, my biggest problem when I started, the entrepreneurship journey, it was like the self trust in myself being able to actually do like that. I'm actually capable of doing things because I heard so all my life that you are not good enough, you are not smart enough, and all of those things. And that literally hold me back. And then, like, when I actually start believing and trusting my actions and start doing things that actually being uncomfortable more and more, and like going through them and giving this success and more and more and more, it's just like literally built and showed me that I what I'm actually capable of, and nobody going to determine if I what I'm capable of except me myself, right? And for those people who basically who believe in God, he already told you who you are, right? So for those people, who are struggling with this type of issue, like, for example, they having those self-sabotaging beliefs, what would you tell them? What would you how would you shift their beliefs and like show them that this is not how we're supposed to be living and believing in this type of lies?
Yeah. So the first thing I don't do is tell people this is not right. This isn't how you should be living, right? Because if I do that, now I'm just putting my story on them.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea is in the conversation as we're talking is to let them figure it out for themselves. But usually, like you said, there was a fear. There was this story of I'm not enough. And so the first thing that I do with people, I have a framework. It's called Origin, ORIGIA. I can't spell origin apparently. Um, uh, and I use Origin because that's really what it's about. It's about getting back to who you originally actually were created to become, who you were before everything else was put on you. But what happens is we start to allow our body starts to realize something's not right, right? And until we can get our nervous system in that fear and accept that where we are is where we can't move forward. So the first thing I actually do with people is introduce them to the serpent, the snake.
Mm-hmm.
So as we go through this today, as we talk to your listeners, we're going to talk about 4 animal spirits that are revered here in the Andes and what they can teach us as we go through this journey. So the first is the serpent. Now in the United States, the snake is like the evil, scary, it's always the villain. But in the Andes, the serpent is revered as someone that is grounded in wisdom. It's always completely grounded, right? All of it touches the ground. And one of the first things we do is what I call serpent breath. So it's just getting grounded. I take the client through just a breathing exercise of inhaling 4 times, holding it for 4 counts, holding it for 4 counts, and then as you exhale, and if you're listening, do this with us. You inhale for 4 counts, 1, 2, 3, 4. You hold it for 4. And as you exhale, keep your teeth together and you make a hissing sound like a snake. Now it sounds ridiculous, right? Because you're like,
yeah.
But what this does is it puts resistance in your breath so that your exhale is slower. And as you exhale slower, you become more grounded. And this is how you get in touch with the serpent.
Ooh, that's powerful. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I know.
Right?
Yeah, this is really cool.
And so I don't need everyone listening to remember, okay, wait, my nervous system isn't regulated. I'm supposed to breathe. I've got to do this. I got to be grounded. No, all I need you to remember is I'm not feeling like I need to. I need to get in touch with the serpent. And if you can do that, you'll remember the other things, right? Which is just become present in the now and do the serpent breath. Inhale 4, hold for 4, and as you exhale for 8. Do that 4 times and you're going to come back to where you need to be. So that's the first part. It's orienting. That's the O in Origin. It's being okay with where I am and being able to dive into the story that I'm allowing to control my life right now. So that would be the first thing I would do with someone. And talking to me, we might talk for 2 sessions, just orienting before we can move into the next step, which is we reveal the stories that are holding us back. But I don't need everybody to remember orient, reveal. I don't need you to remember origin. I need to remember the serpent. But now we're going to talk about the jaguar. The jaguar is a hunter. The jaguar is where we go into some of the shadows and the things that are holding us back. Because the jaguar in Andean teachings has no predators. It's at the top of the food chain. It faces fear. It has courage. It's not afraid of the dark. It's willing to hunt and thrash and dig in with teeth and destroy whatever needs to go away. And so we use different techniques with the jaguar to help us reveal the stories that actually aren't ours, but that were put on us by others, or are causing us to have a gap in between what's really happening and what we've decided is happening. Okay? Right. I call this the jaguar lens. This is a technique that's used by lots of coaches, therapists. Basically, what you do when you're in this moment, first we're going to do our serpent breath, and then we're going to do the jaguar lens. Look at whatever it is that's bothering you right now, as though you were looking at it through a video camera, right? No music to create emotion, just what is happening. For example, I reached out to this client. I thought they would get back to me today. I haven't heard back from them in 2 days. Okay. That's the facts. But what do we tell ourselves? Oh, I didn't write that email the right way. I'm not good at what I do. I should have done better on my presentation. I'm not good enough. Why do I do this work? I suck at it. They don't like me. They probably went with somebody else. Whoa, the Jaguar says, whoa, whoa, whoa. We're out here to hunt. We don't need all this extra emotion. So let's find out, where's that gap coming in? Where did we go from they just haven't emailed back? Well, maybe they got busy. Maybe it went into their spam. Maybe it got buried because they get a lot. Who knows? But where did we go from that to this? And so now we start to look at this gap and start to identify what those stories are. We may have to go back to the serpent. That's okay. We do our breath. And there's other techniques in the serpent. We don't have time to go into all of them, but that's a big one.
Yeah.
So now we're starting to identify these things, and we need to start to imagine, what are other possibilities? What else is possible if I change the narrative? If I take back the pen? And that's why the I is for imagine. And now we leave the Jaguar and we get to introduce the hummingbird. And I love the hummingbird. The hummingbird is the only bird that can fly and shift directions in every direction like that. Not only that, a lot of people don't know that hummingbirds migrate over 1,000 miles nonstop, surviving only on nectar, sugar, sweetness, joy.
Yeah.
So we leave the Jaguar behind, we leave the darkness, and we start to imagine the joy that's possible when we rewrite the stories. One of the things that we teach you is to go nectar hunting, okay, or nectar sourcing. That means today you're going to put your phone away, you're going to put your laptop away, and you're going to go do something, not to create content, not to put it on social media, not for any other reason than because it's just freaking fun. See, as we go through midlife, which is most of the people that I work with, we call it a crisis, but it's not a crisis. That's a label we put on it, right? The guy who buys the sports car, colors his hair, trying to be young again. It's an unraveling. I take you through a midlife unraveling. We take off the armor. We take off the old stories. We forget somehow how to imagine. We confuse, as adults, as midlife adults, we confuse planning with imagination. Like, you know what? I'm going to come up with this plan to learn Spanish. That's not imagination. That's planning. Imagination is thinking up something that's just ridiculous and out there that, you know, making the impossible possible, right? What are you going to go do that's just fun? Just fun. Go to a roller rink, put on roller skates, and just go skate. So what? You're 50 years old. Go have fun, right? What are you going to go do? For me, it's going to karaoke. When I need to just find joy, I go do karaoke. Don't need my phone. I'll perform. I'll get out on the floor and I dance and I resource my nectar so that I can go on this migration journey, right, with the hummingbird. And then after that, the hummingbird doesn't just imagine what's possible, it goes, which is the G. So we go and we experiment. We look at new ways of doing things. Okay, you know what? They didn't reply to me in 2 days on that email. No worries. I'm going to go about my work today. Maybe I need to do some serpent breaths to ground me because I'm a little frazzled, but I'm not going to let it define me. I'm not going to let it bother me. I'm going to go react to this in a different way than I normally would. And then notice what happens. Did anything different happen? Maybe they still don't get back to you, but you were able to go about your day from a place of joy. And so as you experiment with these different ways to recreate and retell the stories that you tell yourself, you reinforce these behaviors, right? So we've got the serpent that grounds us. We've got the serpent breath. We've got the Jaguar that allows us to hunt as we do the Jaguar lens and see the facts that are happening and the stupid story we're telling ourselves, right? And then we've got the hummingbird going out finding joy, who's able to shift and go in any direction at any moment, but go on long journeys, right? And it brings us to the last of the four animals, which is the condor. The condor is the bird that is able to fly higher than any other. It's revered here in Ecuador. And it allows us to have this new vision. It allows us to go to next I, which is integrate these new things that we're doing in our story. And as we integrate them, the condor allows us to see the vision of what can be different.
Right.
We can see further ahead. We can see what's going to happen. And after we integrate and we figure out what works, what doesn't, then the N, we normalize this new behavior as the condor guides us to this new place. And one of the things with the condor that we do is we create a new environment. The condor soars high into places we've never been before, and it's able to do things because it can change its environment. It can be on the ground, it can be in the mountains, it can be in the air. It goes to places where it's best suited for what it is that needs to be in that moment. And so we change our environment, right? Because there may be things in our apartment, our house, that trigger the old stories. So we start to get rid of those things, right?
Yep.
Now,
Yep.
this sounds nice. It sounds beautiful. It sounds like just this path to success.
Yeah.
Right? Too good to be true, right? Come on, Chad, I've done this. And then I screw up and I'm like, whatever, right? We start, we screw up, things happen. It happens to me still too. But that's why origin is not a straight line. It's a spiral. It's a spiral that sometimes starts over, right? You've started something before and somehow you mentioned it earlier. We self-sabotage, right?
Yep. 100%. Yep.
Yeah. So if you self-sabotage, you end up, maybe in moments, you end up back at O, or the Orient, the serpent. And sometimes you just have to go back to the serpent. The difference with this method is going back to the serpent is not failure, right? What we're looking at is the depth of the return.
Right. Yep.
You're not returning all the way back to the beginning, right? My hand's way out here, right? You're not going all the way back to where you started. You're coming back here. Now you're at the serpent and you're doing your things and you're identifying these stories, but you're starting from a higher place, a higher octave. And now as you spiral, you go a little higher and something happened. I need to orient again. Hear this, whoever's listening. That's okay. So that's a very long-winded overview of kind of the things I do.
Love it, and this is awesome. How did you came up with those names and the framework? How did you came up with that?
So when I got to Ecuador, I let go of all of my faith, and some of you are going to be like, "Oh no," right? And that's okay, and I understand that. I grew up in a certain religion, a certain faith, and those stories were all put on me as well. And I decided when I got here, I was going to just erase the whole board because I wanted whatever my spirituality is, whatever my connection with God, the universe, the creator, whatever it is that you want to call it. I wanted to know 100% it was because me and whatever that is found each other. And so I thought, well, I'm in Ecuador, I'm in the Andes. I'm curious about some of their indigenous spirituality. And so I discovered this symbol. It's called the Chicana, which means a bridge. Some call it the Andean cross, or some call it the Andean medicine wheel. It's tattooed on my chest. So not to make it awkward for everyone. But within the Andean medicine wheel, there's lots of different components. There's a representation of the underworld, the present world, and the world of the gods, the past, present, and the future. The center circle represents the light, the present, the now. And so I started studying about being present and about the now and how the past, present, and future all intertwine and interconnect. And the four animal spirits are also part of the Andean medicine wheel as well. For example, the jaguar is in the west, right? Where the sun sets, where there's shadows. The hummingbird is in the east, where there's joy and the sun comes up. Obviously, the serpent is in the south, grounded, and the condor in the north, up in the sky. And so I got very intrigued and I started to feel very connected with these things.
Yep.
And then, but I didn't connect it to story catching until one day I went to this waterfall about a 20-minute walk from my home. And it's called Cascada Silencio, which is profound, right? Silence. But as it comes over the cliff from the river, it splits into three waterfalls. and it comes into this pool of water with a stone right in the center. And I always thought it was pretty. But then one day I went on a hike that took me to the top. And in that moment, I realized that those three waterfalls for me represented the three worlds, the past, present, and the future. The stone in the middle represents the center stone here, the center circle, the being present in the now. And I realized that all three, the past, present, and the future, all started and ended in the same place. They all started from the top. They all ended in that pool of water. And I went down and and some of you are going to be like, okay, this is a little woo-woo, Chad, like relax, bro. You're getting a little like mystical or whatever. But this was my experience. This was my story. I went down and I decided to sit on that center stone and I looked at the three waterfalls. And as I did in that moment, I realized that each one represented past, present, and future. And I saw in one moment me as a child, an actual experience that I hadn't thought about in a long time. I saw me now on my journey. And then in the future, I saw me at that same waterfall teaching groups of people what I had learned. And I realized in that moment that somehow this Andean spirituality was telling me, hey, there's a connection. And so I dug deep. And over the last year, I've been working on understanding what was supposed to be. And at the end of February, my first group is coming here on a retreat. And on the first day, we will be at Cascada Silencio, and I will be explaining to them my journey and what's going on. So that future that I saw is actually about to happen.
Awesome. I love it. Yeah,
Yeah.
this is powerful, brother. I love it. It's like it seems to me that it's literally like the whole. Well, I have a question before I'm gonna say that. But so, how was your childhood? Like, how it looked like? Was it like? Do you have siblings, or how does it how it was for you in a school and so on?
Yeah. So I grew up the oldest of five,
Uh-huh.
in a very, very strict religious home,
Mm-hmm.
where most of the expectations and the sense of value came from achieving things that were related to the religion, to the faith.
Yeah.
So my value and who I was didn't come from who I was, but didn't come from the innate gifts that I had. It didn't come from some of the weirdness that was me. It was mostly recognized when I complied, obeyed, and did the things that were expected.
Yep. Yep.
So that's kind of what childhood was like. School,
Uh-huh.
I put it this way, because I was picked on at school, but I was also very well known. I was involved in certain things at school. I was the mascot, right? I was the guy that dressed up as the character. Uh, I always tell people I was very well known, but I wasn't popular. Everybody knew who Chad was, but Chad was never invited to parties and things. But it was because everybody knew I had this strict religious upbringing, and I probably wasn't going to be able to go anyway, right? So,
Yep.
so most of my friends were from the same background, the same faith. So I was, constantly pretty much in this bubble. At age 35, I left the faith. I broke the bubble, and that was hard, right? That's very hard. It's hard for all of us, right? That's why we spend time with the jaguar. The jaguar can bust those bubbles with those claws and those teeth. Um, but it's hard to do alone.
Mm-hmm.
It's very hard to do alone. But once you can bust that bubble, it doesn't mean that you won't go back in it. You may discover, you know what? That is where I belong.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
But until you truly feel that way and believe that and know that to be true, I think you owe it to yourself to go on that journey of discovery. Find out, okay, am I really the one writing the script, or am I just a performer on stage? And I spent so much of my life as just a performer on stage, and everybody else was writing the story. Everybody else was writing the script. What I help people do is take back the pen. And so,
Makes sense. Mm-hmm. I can see like lots of similarities, not like completely like obvious, but like the way that you grew up and so on. Like I love to study like people. That's why I'm like having this conversation also, like how they are different and so on, like what they do. I love connecting with other people, and I'm trying to figure out all the way what you are sharing and so on, how we can literally be where is some similarities that we've all we've experienced or so on. So when for like I moved from our country, from Czech Republic basically, to England, hoping for literally like finding a different place somewhere where I'm going to be like it's going to support the way that I've always dreamed of living, right? But it didn't happen because I haven't found the place as you did yet. I haven't found the place where I'm going to be like feel aligned. I found what I love to do, but I haven't found the place where I want to be. I love traveling, and I'm going to be probably traveling, until the rest of my life, and looking for the place until I'm gonna find it, and there I'm gonna stay. But like until then, I'm like literally I have to take care of first of me and of my kids, and my wife, my partner, basically, to so we have like the options, and do those things that we can actually like we can decide, we can choose. We don't have to just grind and follow the script and all of that, right? So when you said that you found the place, but you gave up something that was like something that wasn't working, right? And in the US, from since all your literally young age and up to 30, what was it, 35,
I was
30
about
something?
35, yeah, about 35.
Yeah, yeah. So it's literally like you meant to be where you are right now. I'm literally feeling it from you, and how you present yourself and what you are sharing and how passionate you are about it is like 100%. It's so amazing and like so motivating, and I'm 100% sure that those people who are listening, they are having so much value just from from you being yourself and showing them what is possible. So this is really, I really appreciate you doing that and sharing this whole um your story and so on. So my question now would be, what you can see, where is the biggest problem you can see, like that you are like you are working with people and helping other people? What is the biggest problem that you can see people are like keeping being stuck on?
What they're stuck on. Um, I'm working with people who are going through similar things that I did, right?
Mm-hmm,
They're divorced and suddenly they're like,
mm-hmm,
I don't know who I am anymore. I don't even know what to do. Or they're questioning their faith, they're deconstructing their religion and trying to rediscover their own spirituality instead of what was told them. Or it's people who are in midlife and feeling unfulfilled in their career, but they're scared to take a risk.
mm-hmm,
They're scared to fail. They're letting all the stories of what might happen. Um, so most people are stuck because they're afraid, right? We can't change until we show our nervous system, till we realize it in our brainstem in here, that where I am is safe. And once I realize I'm safe, now I can start to identify and make some changes. But as long as you live from a place of fear and your nervous system is telling you I'm not safe, it's very, very hard. So it's most people, they just don't feel safe. Um, and it's usually because they're afraid of something that if they do the Jaguar lens
yeah,
and look at the facts, they're afraid of this stuff over here that's not real. So it's this in between place. That's where people get stuck, is being able to figure out what's going on right here so they can get rid of this imaginary other thing and start going. So that would be what most people are. It's not a specific fear. I
mm-hmm,
can't like pinpoint like most people have this specific fear. Everybody's different, right? If you're watching this right now, like I think you put it on YouTube, right? Let us know what is a big fear that that you struggle with? What fear is holding you back? What story is holding you back? Um,
Mhm.
I'll see a link to this, I assume, when it goes, and I'd love to go in and talk to those people and see what's going on. Um, I'm sure we can give them a link so they can reach out later in the conversation. But um, you know, everybody's different. But the first step is not it's not even overcoming the fear. It's being willing to admit that I am afraid,
Yep. Yep.
right? Which is interesting. It's probably why I would say 80% of the people I work with are women, because women are actually braver than men
Ooh. Okay.
because they're
Interesting.
willing to admit that I'm afraid. They're willing to admit I need somebody to talk to and help me through this. They're willing to admit I can't do it by myself. But as men, we are told a story
Hmm.
that we're supposed to be brave and strong and fixers and be able to do everything on our own.
Yeah, I get it. Okay, I see. Uh-huh.
And the truth is, while we're hiding behind this fake courage, the women are out bravering us. Bravering, is that a word?
Yeah,
They're,
yeah, I
they're,
think I understand that. Yeah, understand what you're saying. So, hopefully, yeah. But yeah,
bravery
100%.
doesn't come from hiding behind walls. It comes from
No,
taking them down.
that's super powerful. Yeah, yeah,
So
it's
step
super
up,
powerful.
guys. Tell us in the comments, what are you afraid of?
Yeah, 100%. Because like, yeah, 100%. I haven't been even thinking about it that much because I'm like always like, when I working on something and I feel there's no like, there is some resistance, I always going, and trying to figure out what is gonna be the worst case scenario. And like if it's not kill me, it's just some noise to go through. You know what I mean? Do you think it's a good approach to go that way?
Well, I think, we look at both. We look at all of them, right? But what we tend to do is we look at the worst case scenario. How about this? Let's look at the best
Yeah,
case scenario.
yeah,
What is
yeah.
possible? What is possible if money, fear, failure, none of those things had anything to do with it? What would you step off the cliff and go for? What's the best
Mm,
case scenario, right? The worst case scenario, that's this guy over here,
yeah, yeah,
right? Somewhere in this gap, we don't allow ourselves to feel and recognize the best case scenario and have the courage to suck up the nectar, live in the joy, shift and go on the long journey like the hummingbird does,
yep,
right?
yep.
So, yeah, like, do we have to be realists? Sure, right? Like, if I think, you know what, I think it would be exciting for my family if we drove off a cliff. Okay, that's probably a worst case scenario situation. You probably want to think about the bad things that could happen. But if I think, man, you know what, I would really like to move my family to Ecuador. Anybody can think about what the worst things can happen are, but nobody really, really just focuses on what are all the incredible possibilities? What are all the incredible possibilities that are possible, but I'm not allowing to happen because I'm not grounded and I'm allowing fear. That's why Orient is so important. That's why
Mm-hmm.
the serpent is so important because when we're grounded, the serpent, one of the cool things about a serpent, it can go anywhere. It's on the ground, but it can go anywhere. As long as if it's on the ground, touching it can, whatever. It's kind of like a river, right? You got the river here behind me.
Mm-hmm.
There's rocks in the river, but the river doesn't stop because there's rocks. It goes over them, around them, through them, under them. Heck, it'll cut through them. That's how canyons are formed. The river just keeps moving. The river's not afraid. And one of the crazy things is the river doesn't know where it's going. It's not worried about where am I going. It's worried about I'm still moving. But we allow fear to make us stop every time a rock shows up.
Right.
But the serpent says, screw that. I'm going to keep moving. I'm going to keep going.
Yep, yep. Yeah, this is
The
really cool.
serpent, the jaguar, the hummingbird, and the condor. Those four animal spirits. If you can remember just a little bit about those,
Mm-hmm.
that'll be a huge takeaway.
Yeah,
So
100%. So now, okay, this is huge. Like this is really good. Because like yeah, 100%. People focus more on the negative than actually the positive, and like that's one of the yeah, I would say this is one of the big reasons why people like it's it's very it can be very very bad place to just focus if you focus only on the worst case scenarios, right? Probably it's gonna be the same thing like if you would be focusing only on the best case scenarios, right? So would you say that there has to be some type of balance between those two, or do you believe even in balance? How is it for you?
Sure, there has to be balance, right? There's yin and yang. There's the male and female energies, right? There's balance to everything, right? You have to make decisions and you have to weigh them out. Totally get that,
Mm-hmm,
right?
mm-hmm,
I totally get that. But the thing is that we so often we allow the worst case scenarios to outweigh
mm-hmm.
the best
To
case scenarios.
dictate
So
basically the
yeah,
reality.
so
Yeah,
the balance always goes the other direction, right?
yeah.
And so what happens? We don't do it. We don't do it because we're worried about the worst case scenario. And then what do we find out? Nothing. We never find out if the worst case scenario was going to happen. And we also never get to find out if the best case scenario would have happened either.
Ooh. Yeah, that's so true. Holy smokes, that's so powerful. This is very cool. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
I'm really having a bunch from this also by myself even. And now I have a few more questions. I don't know how much time we have. 40 minutes in. Okay, so okay, I'm going to go a little bit personal question. Personal. Yeah, more private, personal question. Right? Do you have kids?
I do. I have two.
Okay. And do you uh how do you teach them, how you prepare them for the world that it is right now, and like it's even like evolving into the future with all those new technologies and everything what is going on right now?
I don't know that I prepared them from a standpoint of the technologies. I prepared them in two main ways, I think. If yeah, probably two. I don't know if I've ever really thought about this question. Number one is I made sure my kids knew that I believed in them. That no matter what they did, no matter who they were, no matter how they identified or any kind of thing, that I believed in them and that they always had a safe place and a safe space with me, which has opened up dialogue. When they need something, when they're struggling, they're 29, 26 years old, they still call dad. And the other thing that I made sure I ingrained in them, and I tried to show as best I could by example, is kindness. If my kids are accepting of others, pursue their dreams, not the ones anybody else told them they should pursue, technology be damned, and they're kind, as far as I'm concerned, as a parent, I won. And that's what my kids are doing. They live the life they want to live. Are they wealthy and rich and influential and doing all of these whatever? No, they're getting by. But they're doing the things that they want to do. They're living the lives that they want to do, and they care about other people. And I couldn't be more proud of that.
That's awesome. I love it. Yeah, so basically like it seems like that you try to prepare them for any path, right? Like literally like just support their vision. Do not like, because most of the people, like when it comes to, for example, and how we've been raised and so on, um we had to follow this type of rules or whatever, like this is how we've been raised, so you should be probably passing this over to your kids, and all of that. So you completely different like than that, right? You saw it already, you already figured it out, so you trying to help them to actually see the world and take the step based on like what they actually want to do and who they want to be, right? And you're gonna support them
Yeah,
anyway.
and when I was young, in my 20s, I probably wasn't as good or definitely not as aware of that. I was still very ingrained in who I was before. But as I went through this spiral, and I go through this spiral every day myself, right? It's not like I'm some enlightened arrived and I don't have struggles or problems. But as I went through that, I tried to make sure that I instilled as much of that in my kids. So when they call me and they're like, I don't know, Dad, I'm thinking about maybe doing this, but I'm scared, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, well, I mean, I can understand why you're afraid, but if you don't do it, whatever it is you're trying to make happen won't happen for sure.
Mm.
right? But if you do try, now it might happen. It could happen. It still might not happen, but if you don't go for it, it won't happen.
100%. Yeah.
So 10 years from now, how do you want to look back on this? Do you want to look back and go, I wish I would have, or I'm glad I did?
Yeah. Yeah. This is so powerful. I'm always thinking about, when you die, what is after this? Like if like I heard so many people talking about, like, if you would meet when you die, if you would meet the person that you could become, and you would like literally see what the decisions, all the decisions that you could make, and you haven't really you haven't done, that would be a huge like regret for me
That would
of
be
my
hell.
life, how I wasted, you know what I mean, wasted my life of not doing what I could be doing, and like the the person that I could become. It's just like, this is one of the big things that for me also, like, that drives me like crazy. Like I just want to be my best version of myself, if I can say that. Yeah. I don't know, what about you? Like, probably, are we like humans the same way, all of us? Or like, do you have like, what is your vision into your, how you see yourself, how you see the future for yourself, and so on?
That's an interesting thing. Obviously, I want to know I made a difference. I
Mhm.
want to know that I spread kindness, that I spread love, not hate. Um, I try not to spend too much time thinking about the future, just like I try very hard not to spend too much time thinking about the past. One of the things with the Chicana is trying to stay centered and just focused right now in this moment, what some people call the now. Sure, do I have dreams and things I'd like to make happen? Yes. But at the same time, when I spend too much time in that place, I create anxiety for myself because,
Mhm.
oh, I've got to do this. I haven't done that. I need to make sure this happens and all of these things, right? Yes, you need to have goals and things you want to achieve, but the real peace comes from being present right now. What happens is when you're present right now and you learn how to just be, then you can become. When you're always focused on becoming, you almost never will be because you haven't learned how to just be where you are right now. We always think that our value, that our worth comes from something we're going to achieve later. If I do this, maybe they'll love me. If I do this, maybe I'll make more money. If I do this, maybe I'll have more value. If I do this, maybe I'll be happy. You have value right now.
Mhm.
You're successful right now. You're lovable right now. You can be happy right now. One of the things I tell my clients, and as a mantra to repeat, and I do this myself, is, and if you're listening, you can say this with me if you want, or go back and play it. But right now, in this moment, I'm enough. Not because of anything I've done, but because I exist. Right now, in this moment, I am enough. Not because of anything that I've done, but because I exist.
Awesome. Thank you so much, brother. That was amazing. Before I let you go, um, what is what is your goal? Where are you heading? Like, what do you have some, goal that you want to like help some type of amount of people until like 10 years into the future, for example, or 5 years into the future? Do you have something like that type of goals that you are like trying to still going for, and like, bringing them and helping people that way?
I wanna pay my bills, right? I'm not looking to get wealthy. That's why my coaching, the stuff that I do, because of where I live, the cost of living is lower. I don't take advantage of that as a way for me to make more. Use that as an opportunity for me to give more. So I can charge less
Hmm.
so I can help more people. There's so many people who want coaching, who need this, who need somebody to walk with them. That's what I do. I walk with you, hand in hand, right next to you, right? I'm that ear just to listen. Most of what I do is listening. You figure it out on your own, I promise you. So my goal, pay my bills and make what I do available to as many people as I can by not trying to be the guy who's only looking for high powering CEOs and, high achieving, but I'm not that guy. I'm looking for the regular everyday Joe the dad, the mom, who just woke up and is tired of feeling like I'm not enough. I don't know who I am anymore. I don't know what's next. I'm scared. I don't really want to tell anybody. I need a safe place to be able to do that. I just want to be that for people in a way that's affordable. And as far as the number of people I want to help, I don't think about it. When I think about how many people do I want to help, I think I want to help whoever the next person is that I talk to. Whoever the person is that I'm with right now, that's who I want to be there for. And when the next one shows up, the next one shows up, and I just make sure that I'm where I need to be so I can be there for them. It's not about numbers or volume for me. It's about you right now in this moment.
That's awesome. All right. Thank you so much, brother. That was amazing. Thank you for your time. Thank you for being here. Before I let you go, where people can find you, where is the place?
Yeah, obviously, like everybody, Chad Peterson. I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn, and it's Peterson with a S-E-N. That's where people screw up. At the Real Story Catcher on Instagram. But what I'd love to offer is if you go to thestorycatcher.com, you can book a free discovery call. The website says 30 minutes, but anybody who's listening to this today, I'm going to give you a full hour of my time. And if that means there's 100 of you that come want an hour, I'm ready to give you 100 hours of my time. So go to thestorycatcher.com, book a discovery call, and we'll just do a free story catching moment with you. No obligation, no sales or anything. Like, we're going to spend that hour figuring out where you are on this spiral and make sure that you go away from that call with something that impacts you and makes a difference.
Awesome. Love it. All right. Thank you, brother. Thank you so much. That was Chad Petersen, and it was a pleasure to have you, brother. And we will see you guys in the next episode. Bye for now.